Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, he is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, Section 43. We have concluded the story of Prahlad, and Rama has asked about role of grace and what's the difference between self-effort and grace. Insight is being given. It is self-effort that turns into a grace. Self-effort, if a tree is growing, a stage comes when there is just a bud. Bud is not so interesting to look at. So the effort, self-effort that led the formation of the bud now awaits a miracle. Bud blossoms. Mostly they blossom in the night. They don't tell anybody when they are blossoming. And waft the fragrance. So that stage is grace. But that grace wouldn't come unless you have attended to your self-effort. So if you think that why not just work for the grace, no self-effort, you will never get that grace. You may get certain boons, but boons are limited. Give me a month of food. But then, what will happen after a month is gone. Jokingly speaking, no matter what you ask, your asking is limited. And then what? The boon, again, I will give you more insight into this. Even the boon cannot come to you unless you have a karma that enables you to get the boon. Even to match up to the boon, your karma has to be there. But karma-based movement is not real self-effort. It is deluded effort, led by kama, desire of the mind, led by your ego. This ego is handling your personality. It's a monkey business. In that state, boons are important. Monkey business will get the boons which are alpam, little. But monkey is very happy about it. And that goes on from life to life, that illusion. Real self-effort, when you are well taught through satsanga and you develop a keen interest, firstly to understand what is the purpose of life. And of course, bhakti mukti, shakti bhakti mukti, strength to live, to allow your karma to, kriya shakti to unfold, bhakti, develop a sense of being in divine hands. So when bhakti begins to come, your self-effort blends with grace. And self-effort brings about amazing results, not the result your ego has expected, but the results that will lead you to real attainment. And all this ultimately leading to liberation. If that purpose has entered your personality, then you have your effort in harmony with the purpose. That effort is called self-effort. Any other effort becomes a not self-effort. It obstructs your movement. So with that in view, we go into the study. Sage Vasishtha explained, O Rama, the attainment of divine grace and the receiving of divine boons are like flowers and fruits of the tree of self-effort. The fact that King Prahlad attained self-realization through the boon of Lord Vishnu does not contradict the supreme importance of self-effort. In a storyline, culminating point, which Lord Vishnu gave him the boon, that he will have param bhakti, supreme devotion, and thereby open the door to liberation. And Rama wanted to clarify for the masses, shouldn't have Vishnu given that boon in the beginning itself? And not let him go through all these trials and tests and Holika Dahan and all that. He's compassionate enough, he should have just given him. But the point is, it is never done. Even though you still read in the stories of great divinities giving you powerful boons, those boons are not being given, you have prepared. Whether it's the demoniac people or good people. Whatever the boon they require, they have worked for it. So nothing that you acquire is just a gift from God. God doesn't like gifts. I'm joking, completely joking. From another angle, God is a abode of compassion. And however, his compassion remains passive until an aspirant has developed purity of heart. Sun is shining over all pots of water with equal vision. But different pots have different responses to the shining sun because the water is in different conditions. Muddy water, even the sun is looking with the motherly eyes, can you accept me? Muddy water muddles up the whole thing. God's love is absolute reality. A soul cannot be rejected, effaced, destroyed. God will not allow it. It's not within the power of God. His omnipotence has a limitation. So that point is again allegorically speaking. Now, when will this God love the soul? It must go other way around. When will you develop devotion to God? The moment you begin to develop devotion, like you're opening a window, light goes on coming progressively. The innermost self in every individual is same as Lord Vishnu. Now, another striking point. You don't have to wait for Lord Vishnu to appear before you on his Garuda bird. Sometimes he appears without the bird. And then give you boon what you want to ask. He is your reality. If you were to look for who am I and shift your angle from ego to the underlying reality, that reality has been waiting for you to open your eyes. That reality is Vishnu, that reality is Brahman. He is all those 4 steps, 3 steps basically, Sagun Sakar, Sagun Nirakar, Nirgun Nirakar. And where do you want to find them? Even the very effort that we are directing to find God is energized by God. God is the very source behind it. So the very innermost self within every individual, that's where the highlight of the Vedantic teaching. Your mind should not stay constantly involved with a distracted concept that since I'm a devotee of God, first I must find out where are the temples and then plan out, put your ducks together to go visit one temple after another. That's, if you are complete in kindergarten, that's perfectly okay. That's what temples are for. If you advance, you don't have to look for where can I find God. The very tongue that is saying where, look for the source of the tongue. In a little nervous body with a skeleton and bones, who is asking this question? And what is the reality behind it? It's very God, the very same God we are looking for. Where can I find him? When will I have his darshan? And he is amazed. He's looking. The innermost self in every individual is same as Lord Vishnu, underlying all names and forms of the universe. Therefore, even though Lord Vishnu has assumed an external form to shower his blessings on Prahlad, it is erroneous to think that Prahlad received divine grace by an act of destiny alone. What is implying that the idea that no matter what Prahlad was and how much effort he has put forth, God came and by his grace elevated him. That's encouraged at your kindergarten level. You don't have to understand all that. Simple understand that God can by his grace do miracles of grace. So your mind should calm down. But now you must understand, grace will do miracles only when Your self-effort has led you to that. Through self-effort, you have attained deserving qualifications. Then only self-effort movement is like tree movement with thorns and leaves and grace blossoming. The tree will not just blossom unless God allows all that to happen. You cannot ask, why don't they just plant the seed and from tomorrow start getting flowers? Act of grace and act of destiny. You have to understand the difference between the two. Act of destiny is defined by your karmas. If your good karmas are there, or whatever karmas, even in this level, when we say good karma, it is not actually good from divine point of view. But to the masses, karmas that will give you prosperity. You can utilize that by, in prosperous condition, learn to be more of a sadhaka and practice more intensive integration because I have nothing to complain about. If you don't do that, the nature puts you into a situation of compulsion. In difficult circumstances, you have no choice. Oh God, I can't do anything, God. So you are the only one. What I am implying that karma-based, if you have created karmic impressions, karma-based basis, then you will have fortune coming to you led by the law of karma. Even that fortune, no God gives you as a gift. Nowhere gifts are given from God's side. Because you don't need that gift. Basically, you are God of gods. You don't bring gifts to the sun. So these points are important to understand. Whether you are living with a karmic reality, depending upon change in your fortune, change in your condition, what's needed is a special effort to create good karmas. That effort is also self-effort, purushartha, but it is like one is in a kindergarten mathematics, another is advanced mathematics. Kindergarten mathematics, do your self-effort to please your ego. Certain things are you need. You really understand whether you need it or not. Somebody's face is shining because of a particular ornament. and you do your austerity, japa, meditation, or whatever self-effort. And when you have succeeded in that stage of self-effort, that God will create a miracle. Even though the thing that you wanted was very costly, and something works out. You inherit from someone that you didn't know before. And all that I've given some imaginations. But that's the way the world is. Simple point I'm referring to, nothing is given to you unless you have worked for it. Whether in the world of karma or world of spiritual enlightenment. Whatever is attained by a person, in whatever place, know that to be the result of one's self-effort alone. If the divinity were to give self-realization to anyone, irrespective of whether he has practiced self-effort or not, then why shouldn't he, being all compassionate, grant liberation even to camels and buffaloes? Crude language, but the meaning is clear. Therefore, the message is, continue to do your self-effort. Broadly, 4 purposes of life: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Base the foundation of your life on dharma, ethical value. On that basis, have your material resources, things you need for your evolution, artha. And in this process, all interdependence among human beings, social value, loving value with all human beings, that has its own detail. And finally, attaining liberation is spiritual value of life, which is the ultimate, the absolute, infinite value, liberation. All these 4 go together. When that purpose is being introduced to your heart, you begin to wake up more and more. When you are fully awake, then all the purposes have come into your order. And moksha has become your highlight. And along with moksha, bhakti becomes your highlight. Because symptom for attaining moksha is profound love of God. Endowed with the continued practice of inquiry and increasing dispassion, he who has brought his hissing senses under control is bound to attain the highest. Now self-effort becomes more advanced, it becomes an internal movement. Self-effort is first bahirmukhi, dealing with your body, your senses, your practical reality, your relatives, near and dear ones, your business, and all that. Practical reality you handle, and while handling it, you are practicing integral yoga. That's one stage of self-effort. Now, higher level develops. You are keenly involved in understanding who am I. And therefore, your effort goes after listening, reflection, meditation, and all this ends up with realization. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, Sakshatkar. And when all this insight begins to operate, you are with your self-effort, going towards the goal. In description, it all matched up easily. In practice, there is much swinging back and forth. And all that's needed, depending upon the law of your karma, the law of your state of mind, and many things. O Rama, learn to adore the self by the practice of listening and reflection. The surprise for bhakti practitioners. When you practice Vedanta, listening, reflection, inquiry into who am I, affirmation, I am not the body, I am Brahman. You are practicing bhakti, devotion to this divine self. Because that's the way you are coming closer to God. Until you realize there is no difference. Your relationship with God is in 3 planes. Deha buddhya tu dasoham. As long as body grips you, body idea, entertain the feeling, entertain the understanding that you are an instrument, channel in divine hand. So don't go on blaming yourself constantly for everything that you do. Karma moves in its strange way. Learn lessons, how to improve yourself. But don't go on banging your head because some negative thing has happened because of you. So that type of lesson has to be learned. And the more you understand who am I, better you are in relation to God. And this process of relating yourself to God culminates in absolute identity. I am that. That's what Hanuman said. Deha buddhya sudasoham, jiva buddhya todanshaka. The point of the soul, I am a ray and God like the sun. Atma buddhya tavaiva. The point of view of the innermost self, there is no difference. I am is the only reality. Aham brahmasmi. Creating or seeing difference between the two, that puts a person in a negative state and creates troubles. Sometimes people in the same family fight with each other. One set says bhakti, another says jnana. Other don't want to look at each other. So, in the name of spirituality and religion, people go through tremendous mistakes, narrow-minded concepts, and that has to be removed under good guidance. So any step you take for realizing the self is led by love for God. Constant inquiry into the nature of the self is the best form of divine adoration. Idea, let me do divine adoration. Then immediately the mind says, now I must find the bilwat leaves. I must find certain flowers, collect certain incense sticks and things of that nature, and have a whole list. See, whenever I'm saying these, I'm not discouraging. These things have their importance. Every little detail has its importance in its own place. Every baby has to be given a toy. It's perfectly in order. But in higher stage, your adoration doesn't require external setup. That you have to have so many offerings well prepared, etc. What is best there? Asking a question. Not a verbal question, figuring it out through a whole mental process. Who am I? And as the answer comes about the I, your whole mind begins to get into a kind of a superconscious state. Mind gets into a state of wonder and begins to sink. It doesn't think, sinks into mauna. And that is the state of profound communion with God. And you, as if you have worshipped God in all the temples of the world. Figure that out. Lord Vishnu abides in every heart. But he who turns to an external God, ignoring the indwelling self, who considers God as an external being unrelated to the inner self, is not a true devotee of God. It is the attributeless self that is meditated upon as Lord Vishnu. So whenever we talk about meditate upon your Ishta Devata, you are being led to meditating upon Brahman. If Ishta Devata doesn't open the channel to Brahman, you have not been faithful to your Ishta Devata. It is the attributeless self that is meditated upon as Lord Vishnu, holding in his hands his discus, mace, conch and lotus. This form of meditation is practiced in order to purify the mind. The allegorical aspect of God is worshipped for purifying your mind. Impure mind can't handle the higher advanced thinking. So allow the mind to work in a kindergarten level. And you follow according to how sages have planned. Have Ishta Devata, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Hanuman, Devi, whomsoever. But every Ishta Devata is Brahman. With that understanding and that being your goal, you follow your son. When the mind is purified, then you gradually move away from Sagun Sakar. You go into Sagun Nirakar. Sagun Sakar means you have a form, and along with the form you think of the divine qualities, virtues of God. And we are meditating on both. God is compassion. That meditate on virtue. But God is looking blue, like the big sky. Gagana Sadrisha. So on one side you are giving a physical imagery, on the other side thinking of virtue. That stage is Sagun Sakar. And it is very effective. But its effectiveness means you should not stay with the physical aspect. Move towards the virtue aspect. God is compassion. That compassion is more important than the blue color. And then moving to third level, where there is nothing can be expressed through your mind. Mind understands its limitation. And so the best thing a mind does, vinaya, humility, and simply being calm, mauna. And then that becomes the effective method of adoring Brahman as Nirguna Nirakar. Calm your mind, and now Brahman is pleased. jumps into your mind. And you end up with the realization, Aham Brahma. Nothing exists, nothing belongs to me. I am neither mind nor body, immortal self am I. And that's the boon. Just as a mango tree brings forth flowers and fruit, so the devotional movement, sustained by self-effort, brings forth the flowers of divine grace and the fruit of self-realization. The entire thing is a self-effort movement. Your self-effort brings a stage of divine grace, like flowers. And the fruit is self-realization. If the inward self is not adored, all one's effort to please an external divinity is rendered void, fruitless, shameless. I'm adding the word shameless. The purpose of your worship, devotion, visiting temples, going to pilgrimage centers, satsangas, the purpose behind all that is not to build in your mind that God is somewhere outside, but to discover that God is ever-present reality. Is closer to you than what you think of your own heart. So you don't have to use any art. Be smart. Again, coming to little simple moral behind it. Continue your self-effort according to your way of understanding. You cannot suddenly do things that you can't understand. So do according to the level of your understanding. Continue your effort. It will change your perspective. As effort grows, your understanding itself will go through transfiguration. And grace will begin to enter automatically. So begin with self-effort and do not let your mind sink into frustration. And leave no stone unturned in dealing with your practical realities. Use all your mind, all your common sense, all practical resources that you have available. Under good guidance. All means don't keep mind just, but be practical minded. And when all this begins to help you, don't thank yourself, thank God. Understand you are channeling God by your right effort. And all that, coming it closer and closer to God until you become completely grown up, in a spiritual way. Grown up means the question, where is God? When will I see Him? When was He not? God now becomes your reality. The world becomes a Maya, Leela. If that state has come, you have attained Jivan Mukti, liberation in life. But it's not one-step movement, it's a progressive movement. Whatever little you gain in that direction, it has a powerful effect on your personality. Now we are getting into another section, section 44, the story of Gandhi. The Gandhi word came from this, one of these sources. Ga is Gaman Gati. Dhi is Dharma. If your movement is towards Dharma, which will lead you to liberation, then the whole process is Gandhi. And in that movement we bring a little song, Gandhi. So these names in the Sanskrit, they have a special meaning behind them. Vasishtha continued, O Rama, Maya expressing itself as the world process is the boundless source of illusion. Now the topic is after Maya. How extensive is Maya? And all this is given to discourage you from exploring Maya. But to develop the insight, how to become free of Maya. By attaining victory over the chitta, the mind stuff, this Maya can be destroyed. I will therefore relate to you the story of Gandhi, which illustrates the power of Maya and also the mystic wisdom that removes Maya. Now starts the story. There is a country known as Koshala, the same country, Ayodhya, where there once lived a Brahmin known as Gandhi. He was dispassionate from his very childhood, and with the intention of practicing severe austerity, he renounced his near and dear ones and went into a forest. He started practicing, becoming a sannyasi. One day in the course of his various austerities, he resolved to enter into a lake and remain there practicing his austerity until Lord Vishnu appeared before him. Thus he entered into a beautiful lake abounding with blooming lotuses, and while remaining submerged in water up to his neck, practiced intense austerity. This again allegorical point. When people practice austerity, the scriptures give picture. Someone goes into the water and stays days and months together. And demons stand on one leg, Dhruva pose, for years together. People take it literally, but it has nothing, no rationality about it. All that it means that you allow your virtuous intention to continue unbroken, sustained, day by day, even though the water is around you is giving you trouble. This world, in spite of the changing world, can adhere to your purpose. If you are adhering to virtuous purpose, then gods within you are practicing austerity. If you adhere to your negative voices of lower self, then the demons are practicing austerity. And every austerity is practiced dirghakal. You don't put a limit. Long. Nairantarya, day by day. Satkar sevitu. With develop respect for what you are doing. And then your austerity brings the boon. So whether boon comes in your vision or not, you are bound to receive the result. So, as a result of his austerity, finally Lord Vishnu appeared before him and said, "O Brahmin, come out of the water and ask any boon of your choice. I will grant to you whatever you ask." But the fact was, remember, whatever he asks is already, the divine is the source behind it. Brahmin Gadhi said, "O Lord, you who are like a lake sustaining the lotus of the three worlds, adorations unto you. I am desirous of seeing the extension of your Maya, which deludes all jivas." Instead of asking for bhakti and mukti, he wants a tricky question. In his mind, I must know all the tricks about Maya. And then if I don't get out of it, then I will get to Vishnu again. The message is, don't get involved with resolving the world problems. But begin with Godward movement. All other problems will open up, give you proper insight, and they will be resolved. But without Godward movement, if you want to go after Maya and details of Maya and how many people fell into Maya and what happened to them, that detail is so vast, vaster than the universe. Lord Vishnu said, "May it be so. You will behold my Maya, and having developed insight into it, you will renounce it in order to attain self-realization." Thus saying, Lord Vishnu disappeared. Gadhi came out of the water and continued to live a life devoted to devotional practices and austerities. Some time passed. One day, remembering the words of Lord Vishnu, his mind started thinking, Lord Vishnu has given me that boon. And what has happened? The book of Maya doesn't open up. So one day he remembered that. Entered the lake in order to take a bath as an act of ritual worship. He ducked himself under the water. And immediately a vision arose in his consciousness. The moment he ducked, he is passed into a state of mystic, superconscious state. He experienced the following course of events. He saw himself as a dead person surrounded by grieving relatives. The body lay before them like a dispassionate ascetic, unaffected by their sorrows. what he is seeing has its own purpose also. He sees that he has passed on. He sees all the near and dear ones, but also he sees what he thinks near and dear ones. They are not the practical near and dear ones. It's a totally different personality. And he's also learning lesson from it, that though he is dead, the dead body is around all that grieving people, and look at the dead body in samadhi. Dead body doesn't care, unaffected. So he gets a lesson, I should be dead to the world. It had entered into a sleep from which there is no awakening. Now the body, referring to the body, once the soul has departed, it cannot go back to the same body. Though unmarried as Gadhi, this new person, he saw himself, what he saw as a dead body, and thinking this is me, dead. From Gadhi point of view, he was unmarried. But in his vision, he sees the dead body has all the relatives, wife, brothers, sisters. The dead body was surrounded by his wife, mother, and various other grieving relatives. This happens even in dreams. Sometimes in your dream, you suddenly become a bird or fly. Meet with your own family, the flock of birds. All people don't have such free dreams, but they do. If you find yourself totally in a different setup, where you don't know what is your identity, people who are helping you think they are your close relatives, and so forth. So this is how the Maya is being brought to your eyes, brought to your understanding through this story. Then he saw the dead body being taken to a cremation ground and then set on fire. With a dispassionate look, he saw his body being consumed to ashes, even like dry fuel. All this is kind of a Sakshi Bhavana, to understand the same thing awaits everyone. And you don't have to come to that stage. Your body is enacting it day by day. Only you don't weep for it. Ask the doctor. And with this I will conclude. It's a very interesting story and it will continue. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramaya Namah. Om Namah Shivaya.